Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation for the Higher Education Student Conference. Throughout this presentation we will be covering different aspects of my research and how my experience was. So an introduction to me, my name is Ronan Smith, my email is smith.ronan2020@outlook.com if you wish to contact me with any questions. I majored in Advanced Skin Techniques, which was a Bachelor of Arts degree with honours. My institution was Newcastle College University Centre. Objectives of this presentation will be achieved by identifying the purpose of research, outlining the aims and objectives associated, outlining methods used to collect data, sample research methods, reviewing results and analyze data, concluding findings and devising recommendations, and finally reflecting on personal experience. For this presentation, we shall be discussing my dissertation, Ultraviolet Radiation, the Influence on the Attitudes and Behaviours amongst Men and Women, a cross-sectional comparative study. This research was to investigate the social science behind the topic of ultraviolet radiation. Here are two images to give you illustration. On the left is the electromagnetic spectrum of radiation, and on the right is the atmosphere and skin penetration of UV. A component of solar radiation, it is the predominant radiation that is emitted from the sun alongside infrared. It is split into three categories, and that is UVA, UVB and UVC. It has been widely studied in relation to vitamin D production in humans. Notably, it has been rigorously investigated in correlation to skin aging and cancer. So the purpose of this research was to establish if attitudes and behaviours amongst individuals could impact on undertaking photoprotective measures and recommendations set by health authorities. The aim was to determine if there was any difference between male and female sex groups, and this led to the hypothesis to evaluate the significance of attitudes and behaviours between men and women and if it promotes or demotes photoprotective measures advised. So the objectives for this research were split into two categories. The secondary research objectives were identifying the physical components of ultraviolet radiation, identifying and evaluating the effects of ultraviolet radiation on cutaneous physiology, which is just the skin, analysing and critiquing individuals' attitudes and behaviours towards negative and positive photoprotective measures among sex groups, and the primary research objectives was to investigate and compare if individual attitudes and behaviours among sex groups can influence on negative and positive photoprotective measures. On the right is the timeline of how my research was executed. You can look at this whilst I discuss my methodology. So my sample, which was my primary group, it was 150 men and 150 female, making 300 for my primary sample. And for my secondary sample, I used one female. My research types was primary and secondary research. My research methods was mixed methods, so a mix of qualitative and quantitative methods. My data collection for my primary sample was one online survey, and for the one female was an interview. For the research, there was some potential bias that came across. But due to the nature of the social science research and the method chosen, biased opinions were seen as useful to help answer the research question. On the right is a list of questions that I asked my primary sample group, and this was my main sample group that I wanted to get the most data from, and I did this via the methods of the SurveyMonkey. I had inclusion and exclusion questions, and if you answered the exclusion question wrong, you would automatically be taken out of the survey, such as, are you age 18 or over? If you answered no, you would have been sent out. And this was just to keep my ethical standing correct. And the rest of the questions were really related to what I was wanting to find out of people. And from that, my questions were mixed between yes and no answers, numerical and expansion questions. So for my research, there was a 100% response rate, and for my primary group, that was 316, and that was higher than I expected, and my sole interview went through. However, I won't discuss the findings from that interview in this presentation because I didn't feel like it was relevant. So for the main themes, it indicated that majority of participants, which was roughly around 80%, spent too long in the sun, and majority of that was around 5+ hours, whilst underutilising all of the photoprotective measures and sunscreen all year round. This does not promote a 360 approach to sun protection, and they are placing themselves at risk of photo damage and malignancy. So for vanity reasons, desire to tan varied, with females more likely to participate in active tanning than men. Majority of participants were aware of the dangers of overexposure and tend to pay attention to health information provided by the NHS, by skin cancer charities, on TV, whatever. However, there was a lack of knowledge of skin examination methods and some skin cancer related facts, which both statistically differed amongst the groups. Significant trends highlighted that some of the male population in the study were lacking in certain knowledge-based questions in comparison to the female population. So from the research, it is apparent that there is more work that needs to be done to raise awareness and educate the population on the importance of following photoprotective measures. And this isn't really just to protect people, individuals, from photo damage and worst case scenario, developing skin cancer in their lifetime. It is evident that attitudes and behaviours are a significant factor, which both promotes and demotes photoprotective measures advised. However, this is entirely dependent on individual circumstance and influence, which is deemed inevitable, and the influence is one of the biggest issues. So this raised questions for me, and it made me realise that there's going to be further research that is needed to address this. The influences are definitely the biggest issue, and influences that should be researched are age, ethnicity, economical classification, demographic, gender, and sex. So I'm going to reflect a little bit on how I found the research itself. Going back, this research idea started in 2017 from a small research project that I did, and it was like the first ever research project I did, and my lecturer did tell me you should do this for your dissertation, and that's what I actually did. So I'm going to start with the challenges. One of the challenges I faced was time consumption, and it was quite a lot of effort I had to put in to make this dissertation. It was like my baby. Another challenge I faced was being taken off campus due to lockdown in the early stages of writing and gathering data, and I had to do all my online support with my lecturer, which was quite hard, and I felt like I missed out on that student experience that way. However, I still got it done. So the rewards included being published in the 8th volume of Seven Bridges, the link is there, and that is an academic student journal. It helped me become an ambassador for a skin cancer charity, which is Melanoma Me. It received 87% grade, which helped me achieve my desired overall grade, and it also has allowed me to be presenting here today. So I would like to thank the people who have supported me throughout. Those include my academic peers, my lecturers at Newcastle College University Centre, the editorial team at Seven Bridges, and the Melanoma Me staff. Here are some of my contact details and the publication link for further reading. I do recommend reading it. It's online. Links for the Skin Cancer Charity and for Newcastle College University Centre research social media can be found on here too. Thank you all for coming here and listening to my presentation. Contact me if you have any questions. You can do that through my email or on LinkedIn, and please have a little look at the publication, the pages that I did link up as well. Thank you.